I think that image masking is a really nice tool to take advantage of, especially when making the title slides. So in this video, I will show you a quick example of how to use it to make a title slide. I have a blank slide open, and now I will go and grab a photo that I want to insert. So here I have one of a sunset in Paris. So I will right click and copy. Now I will go and paste it onto my slide. Now I will resize and reposition until it is centered. Then I can go select on the image and let's go and do some image masking. For this photo, I will actually go and choose on this shape. Next up, I will go and add a shape onto it. So let's go back to shapes. And I actually want to add a triangle here. So I will go and look for a right triangle, which is this one. Now we can just drag. Since this currently has a solid gray fill, it is actually blocking a portion of our Paris photo. So I want to make it a lighter gray and then make it semi-transparent so that way we can still see the picture of Paris behind it. So I will go back to our fill color and click on this custom plus button. Then we will go and play with the transparency bar again. So let's just make it a little transparent and click OK. Now I will make it so there's no border. We now have a triangle that is transparent enough to see the Paris background, as well as solid enough to add words on top. So we can head over and insert a text box, and let's write Paris. Change the font color, and make it a lot bigger. So let's reposition, and then we can also make this triangle just a little bit bigger. Move it over just a slight, and then we can go on with another text box to write the subtitles. So let's put it here, and let's actually move the Paris just a little bit lower. And this is a quick example of how we can use image masking to make a title slide. Now, this is another title slide that I quickly made using image masking, the shapes feature, and the text box. So it really goes to show how much as well as how many different things you can accomplish with just a few Google Slides features. In this section, I will do a few walkthrough videos of me putting together some slides. Now, the first slide that we are going to start with is our team. Since Remy and Linguini work together and act as one in the movie, I will group the two of them and introduce them together. But before I start, I just want to remind you that this is a simple sample slide. So depending on your presentation and the direction that you want to take it, this specific way might not look the best for your presentation. I just want to show that it is possible to combine those basic functions that we just learned and turn them into stunning slides. So let's start off our team slide by inserting an image of the team members, which are these two. So I will just copy and paste the image right onto Google Slides. Now I actually want the image over here, so I can right click, go over to rotate, and choose flip horizontally. Now let's move them over here. My vision for this specific page is to add a rectangular shape And inside that shape, at the very top, we will introduce them by writing their names. So Remy and Linguini. And then in the middle, we will have a few words of introduction. And then at the very bottom, I will include the 4 social medias. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So that way we can link their socials to it. And the audience is able to connect to them through those links. So let's get started with the shape by going up to the shape feature. And let's choose this one for our rectangular shape. Drag it until you see fit. And let's make our fill transparent. And since this is a black border, I want to actually change it to this blue color. And we can also increase our border width to 4. Now, you can see that our border is actually blocking the picture of our team members, which we don't want. So I would click on the team members, right click, go to order, and bring to front. Now, what I want is for this image of them to actually hide this bottom portion of the shape. So I will just reposition until that happens. So let's work on that. Let's shift it over a little bit. And let's see if we can get it to the very edge and still have it not show. Okay, so that's perfect. This is exactly how I envisioned it so far. So we can get started with the inside by writing their names at the top. Now we can't write anything in until we add a text box. So let's go ahead and do that and introduce Remy and Linguini. Okay, since this is their name and their introduction, I want to make it a little fancier. So let's change the font to Lobster. Increase it a bit, let's say 30, and make it the same color as our header. So this orange one. Let's move it over to the middle and move it up a little. Alright, now let's work on the introduction part. So we will need another text box, drag it, and I will come back with some sample text ready. Now that we have our sample text, we can get started with our social medias. So I went ahead and already found the logos of the social medias that I want to include, and I chose to have a black and white color scheme rather than the original, but that's just my choice. And I can copy it. Whoops, let's highlight it. Copy, and then go back to our page and paste it. Now let's center it. Maybe move it up a little. Let's move it up again. Now we can go ahead and link their corresponding social media accounts. However, since these are 2 fictional characters from a movie, they obviously don't have social media accounts for me to link, so I can just link it to their Disney page. So copy, and let's pretend it's a LinkedIn account. So I would click on LinkedIn, go over to the link icon, and paste. Click apply, and you can see that it worked. Alright, so this is my take on the Our Team for our presentation on Ratatouille. The next slide that we are going to make is an about us, or sort of an introduction to what the presentation is going to be about. For this specific presentation, I want to concentrate on the ratatouille dish that was made in the movie. My vision for this slide is to have a photo on the right, and then the name of the dish, and a few sentences describing the dish on the left. So instead of using this basic title and body slide that we have been using for all of our past slides, I will actually go ahead and choose a new layout. And I really like how the section title and description looks because I think it will fit my vision better. Because if we have a photo on the right, the blue background will make our photo stand out a little bit more. So we can get started by copying the photo, which I'll just take from the slide that we did before, and pasting it to where I want. Since this is a bit small, I will make it bigger, and let's just reposition it. Actually, let's move it just a little bit more. Okay, now let's work on the left. So here I will just click to add in the title of our ratatouille dish. So this. And here we can add in our few sentences describing the dish, which I got off of Wikipedia. So I would just copy and paste it back here. Something that I like to do is to bold and change the font color of the important words. This way it really draws and catches the attention of the audience. For this specific paragraph, I will bold the name of the dish. So let's highlight and bold, as well as the name of the chef who came up with the dish. And I will color it the same orange of this header. So once again, highlight and go over to text color and orange. Remember that when it comes to making presentations, you should stick to a few colors. For me, I am using the colors that came with the game day theme. So as you can see, this is the theme palette down here, but I am specifically sticking to this light blue as well as this orange, but maybe I might use the yellow later. We don't know yet, but it's better to stick within a color scheme. That way it can look more visually appealing, as well as give a sense of togetherness rather than just having a bunch of colors thrown in your face. So I will go ahead and change the font color of the chef as well. Okay, so let's center this a little. And I will actually drag it down. Move it until I like the positioning. I like the way that it currently looks now, so I will just stop. And I think that this is a really nice and simple way to showcase your product or your services. Next up is a really simple slide. We are going to be working on the timeline. So I will actually go in and add in a diagram. So go to Insert, Diagram, and Timeline. I will keep it at 4 dates, and I will go and work on the color later. But let's just look for a nice looking timeline. I like this one the best, so I would just click on that and exit out. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, it is best if you stick with a color scheme. So I will go in and edit all of these teal colors to fit my theme blue. So let's go in and select on these pieces. Go over to fill and choose our theme color. So now we have one done. And let's finish it off with the one last one. Don't forget to change the green here. So let's head over and do that. And that is essentially it for my timeline. This is why I really like diagrams. Since they are all pre-made templates, You don't have to do much other than just replace the sample words with your own dates and information. But it looks like you put a lot more time and effort in it because it looks so professional and nice. I can also show another timeline that I made before, which is this one. All I did, in addition to inserting the diagram, is change the borders of the circle to match the colors on the company logo. And this worked out really well because the logo only had 3 colors, which actually lined up in a gradient and got darker and darker. And I was able to use this in my design for the timeline. So essentially all I did was, let's say that this was the circle border. I made it transparent, headed over to border, went to custom and clicked on the plus. And here I just inputted the specific branding colors and clicked OK. And if you are designing a presentation for a client, this small step shows that you put the time and effort into making it custom made. Even though this is a really simple slide, I think that both of these slides turned out really nice. For our 5th video in this section, we are doing a slide on challenges. So as you can see, I already have a slide made. This was super simple. All I did was insert 3 icons and add in the text box with their corresponding title. Now you can leave it as is, or we can make it much better just by adding some shapes around it. So let me show you what that would look like. Head over to shapes and choose the shape that you want. Let's say I want this sticky note one. So we can just drag the shape on top of it, make it a transparent fill, bring the border to our blue, and increase the border weight. Center it, and now we can copy it and paste it 2 times, and put those 2 new pasted shapes around our other 2 icons. After doing a few adjustments, this is how they will turn out. Even though all we did was put a shape around it, it sort of looks a little bit better. So you can either stop here, or we can take it another step further by using the shape tool even more. So let's delete this and talk about my plans for this slide. I am thinking of adding a rectangle in the center, and then on top of that rectangle, I want to add 3 diamonds, where inside each diamond I will have one of these challenge icons, and right below the diamonds, we will have the corresponding text. Now, I know that sounds a little weird, so just bear with me, but before we get started, we need a blank canvas. So let's start by moving everything up to the top. So that's just what I'm going to do now. Okay, now that this is done, we can get started by adding our rectangular shape. So shapes and rectangle. Now I will just drag and draw this. Make sure that it is centered both horizontally and vertically. Now let's move on to our diamonds. So head back up to shapes and let's just draw a square. Doesn't really matter if it's not perfect because we can right click, go to format options, and go to the size and rotation section. Here we can input a specific width and a specific height. So I would just go with 2 and 2. Now to put it onto a tilt, I will make it at a 45-degree rotation. And this is how I like it. So I will copy and paste this twice. So we have 3 of them. Now let's just place it on. Let's make sure they're centered first. Now we can use our distribution tool to make sure that everything is evenly spaced. Once again, click Shift and highlight your diamonds. Go over to Arrange and Distribute horizontally. And as you can see, the middle one shift in place. Now let's make our filling color white and change the border so it is our blue color. I will also increase the border to 8 this time. Now that we have our diamonds ready, we can start by placing our icons back inside. So let's do that. Let's drag and drop. Okay, so here you can see we run into a problem. Our icon is actually behind our diamond, so I will undo, right click, go to order, and choose bring to front. Now when we place it, it should be on top. And here we go. So let's remember to change the order for our other two icons, and we can do the same. Make sure you're doing it in the center, and right click, order, bring to front, and place. Now that we have our icons placed, I will go ahead and move our text so they are right below their corresponding icon. So this one is communication troubles. We'll put it in the middle. Next up is poor food quality. So here. And last is high prices. So this is what we have. Now let's address this rectangle. I want to keep it in our same blue theme color. However, I want it to be a little lighter, a little bit more transparent. So that way you can see the contrast between the diamonds and the rectangle. So what I'll do is go over to fill and select on our blue color. And this time I will go back but click on this custom plus button. Here you can see that we have access to the transparency now. So these are all shades of the same blue color. So now we can just mess around with the transparency bar until we find a color that we like. So let's say I want to go with this one. I'll click OK, and as you can see, it is the same blue color, but a little bit more transparent. Now I can go take away the border, and here is our finished product. Now you can call it quits here, but I actually don't like how the overlapping part looks, and I want to add in a square where it is the same shade as our blue rectangle and make it seem like we can see through the overlap. So I will go up to shapes, making another square, rotating it 45 degrees, giving it the same shade as our rectangle blue, and making our borders the same width and shade as our diamonds. Now I will try and reposition it until it looks like it is the overlap between the two diamonds. Alright, so I think this looks pretty nice for now. So once you are content with how the first overlap looks, you will copy and paste it one more time so we can place it on this other overlap. And this is our finished look. Now we could have just left it with how I showed you in the beginning of the video, with just the 3 icons and the corresponding titles. But I like this slide a lot more, and it also goes to show that you can make an impressive looking slide with just the use of one basic tool. So just go ahead and be creative when thinking of slide ideas.